You could not ask for a better stage for the decisive final weekend of the GP2 Championship than what is perhaps the sport's greatest cathedral of speed, Monza. Welcome to the title-deciding weekend of the 2006 GP2 International Series here on Speed. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Barsha alongside David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. As the stepping stone to Formula One, GP2 is a series full of young dreamers. Some of those dreams have been realized this season, while others no doubt have not. Peter Windsor has been hard at work this final weekend of '06, trolling among the young hopefuls to get their thoughts on how their seasons have unfolded.
It's that time of year again, so with the GP2 season almost over, it's time to tour the paddock and talk to the drivers about their year so far. The highs and the lows, the good and the bad.
My best memory was in Magny-Cours when I start on the pole position the second race, but during only 30 seconds, because on the second corner I go on the wall.
Well, for me it was my home race in Monaco when I finished fourth, and we were competing for the top three for the whole race, but finished fourth in your home race. It was a pretty good result for me.
The two pole position and after the two wins, and obviously that was the high of the top. I was on the top, you know, I was very happy, of course.
The first podium of the year was quite good at Nürburgring when, you know, I passed three cars to get the third place, so that was quite interesting.
Your best moment of the year so far?
Probably my first win on GP2 series, because last year we didn't have any win. We have 4 or 5 podium, but not a win.
Well, I don't actually have one. My best moment was in Silverstone when I finished second in the race. Well, I need to say that Imola was our highest point. We love Imola. It was our first win for me and the team.
Magny-Cours was the first one when we had the first win after the 2 days test in Paul Ricard. Next one was definitely Hockenheim, the Sunday race, when we got past in the last lap.
It was definitely when I came back after my crash in Monaco. I came back in Hockenheim after 2 months off, so that was definitely the best to came back in the car.
Yeah, I think the best moment for me it was Barcelona when I win my first race, and my maybe worst moment was maybe in Hockenheim or Budapest. It was really worst.
Your worst moment, if you had to pick one moment? I hate to ask the question.
The worst one? I would say the worst one would be in the last race in Istanbul, where I didn't have a chance to race.
When I was about this height in the air, when I went over the top of Valles.
Yeah, definitely in Budapest, when I lost the suspension 10 laps to go when I was third, and Monaco, when I crashed when I was third.
Nürburgring was very frustrating after crashing. Monaco, I think Monaco really. We still don't understand what went wrong there. Budapest qualifying was 19th. That was my worst moment this year.
Well, I hate to have to do this, but see if you can find the worst moment since Barcelona.
Every single race after Barcelona, really.
Well, Yoshimoto keeping a clear head on this.
Keeping his sense of humor. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And we have a great championship in store. Just 8 points separate front-runner Lewis Hamilton from our pole sitter Nelson Piquet Jr., who ratcheted up the pressure on his rival by taking pole and 2 bonus points for today's race.
Nelson Piquet, if I had a worst moment for Nelson Piquet, well, I would have thought it would have been Hockenheim, where he just had a miserable day, running so well in the big race and didn't take the start in the second race on the Sunday.
Well, we've got a great weekend in store and a title to decide between 2 of the great young stars of worldwide motorsport. We'll get started in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Monza, where the field is on the grid waiting for the lights to roll off for the feature event, the first of 2 races on this final weekend of the GP2 Championship here on Speed. With the final lights, now it's time for Nelson Piquet Jr. to lead the field away, a little slow getting away from his grid strut. Giorgio Pantano in the red and white car on the left getting away first. He'll slow down and let the pole sitter come through. With that, let's take a look at the starting grid for today's race. On pole, Nelson Piquet Jr., his 6th pole in 11 feature races this year. Nobody else has more than 2. Next to him, Giorgio Pantano, his best grid position since the Nürburgring round last year.
Row 2, Lewis Hamilton for ART, one of 5 drivers who suffered penalties for yellow flag infringements during qualifying. Next to him is Adam Carroll These two Brits have started 11 times from the second row, but there the similarity ends as Lewis Hamilton leads Carroll by 68 points in the championship.
You see one car, I believe that's Javier Villa, getting away late from the grid. On row 3, Alexander Primat of France for ART Grand Prix. They have already clinched the team title. Hamilton is his teammate. Next to him, Luca Filippi of Italy for BCN. His best qualifying performance of the season, his previous best just 14th.
In 7th spot, Ernesto Viso in the first of the iSport International cars, next to Michael Ammermuller, whose season got off to a great start but has really faded since Monte Carlo.
On row 5, Frank Pereira, another of the drivers penalized for ignoring yellow flags. He was originally timed in 5th for the Dams team. Next to him, Spaniard Adrian Valles, his first top 10 qualifying performance since Monaco.
He won't be happy to line up 11th. Timo Glock's had some very good races lately. He's in the second iSport International car. Alongside him, Jimmy Bruni for Trident.
On row 7, Felix Portero of Spain for Campos Racing. Next to him, Argentine Jose Maria Lopez for Supernova.
The Dave Price team car of Clivio Piccioni lines up 15th, next to Paul Sitter's teammate and fellow Brazilian, Alexander Negrão.
Moving back to row 9, Sergio Hernandez of Spain for Durango. And next to him, Andreas Zuber of Austria in the second Trident car.
Row 10, Nicolas Lapierre in the second Arden car, one of the 5 yellow flag miscreants. Next to Hiroki Yoshimoto for BCN.
Miscreants, good word. On row 11, Lucas de Grassi of Brazil for the Durango team. Next to him, Javier Villa, one of 3 drivers in, let's call it the Hall of Shame in GP2. He's been in every race and has yet to score a point.
Row 12, Vitaly Petrov in the second Dave Price Racing team, and Freddie Monferdini in the second Dams machine.
And on row 13, the final row, the other 2 drivers in our Hall of Shame. Farous Fauzi of Malaysia for Supernova and Jason Tahinci of Turkey with FMS International have yet to score a point in their GP2 careers.
Of course, Javier Villa is only 18 years old, Robert.
Well, you can certainly bust out of the Hall of Shame, I suppose. And he no doubt will. Through the Parabolica, what a thrill for these young drivers to take their place on a Formula One style grid here at Monza. We'll have the start in a moment. Welcome back to Monza. Look down on one of the most memorable starting grids in all of motorsport as the GP2 field comes set, led by Nelson Piquet Jr., just 8 points behind Lewis Hamilton, who will start 3rd for the championship. And oh, we've got a problem with one of the Dave Price Racing cars. That's Vitaly Petrov of Russia, who came in, made a big splash, qualified 15th in his first start without having tested the car. But that has gone from being the floor of his career to its ceiling. He hasn't done a lot better since then, and now he has some kind of mechanical problem.
All the cars were very slow coming around to take their spots on the grid, and I was looking at Petrov thinking, boy, you're going incredibly slow. So slow it actually stalled.
Here come the lights.
Oh, great start from Pantano down the inside.
Woo!
Field fans out. Hamilton right under the tail. Oh,
Hamilton in the red and white car will slot behind Pantano. Piquet will give him a squeeze.
Be careful, boys, down here into this tight chicane.
Oh, Piquet, he straight lines the chicane. So does Hamilton. And Hamilton slow coming off that corner. Oh, we've got contact.
All sorts of bad stuff going on. Oh, Pantano going around the outside of Piquet.
Well, trying. And it looks like Pantano will take the spot ahead of Piquet Jr. Hamilton in 3rd.
Hamilton in 3rd just from Ammermuller. Oh,
I believe that's Adam Carroll in 4th. And now into the shade of the trees. Late in an afternoon at Monza. Into the Lesmos. Oh, Carroll all over the back of Hamilton. You're on board with...
Second Lesmo. Hamilton, Adam Carroll is right behind him. We can't see him, but I bet old Lewis Hamilton in that mirror.
Oh, he knows he's there.
He was just to the right rear of him.
In and out of the shade of those trees.
Well, he's close. He is close.
He's close.
Carroll will try him on the outside as they enter the Ascari curves. No, Hamilton holds him off. That allows Hamilton's teammate Alex Primat to close up behind the Irishman. There's another look into the Lesmos. Someone else off in avoidance, I think. It's like one of the iSport International cars. Oh, we've got bits of maybe a rear wing end plate or something coming off. Might be Jose Maria Lopez suffering damage.
Boy, Adam Carroll now got around. Oop, we've got something going on here.
That's Andreas Zuber from Trident.
Was there anybody else in that dust cloud?
Yeah, it looks like a lot of dust for one car, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh, big lock again, just coming down into Piccioni, I think, coming down into the first chicane.
Oh, man.
There's Alexander Primat. Didn't have a particularly good race here last year.
Oh, somebody
else
cut through the first chicane there. Yep. There's Pantano, Piquet Jr. Lewis Hamilton is still dragging Adam Carroll.
Well, I think he got back around Carroll. Carroll had taken the position at one stage, and now Lewis Hamilton making that position back up, back into third, but he's still under pressure from Carroll.
Well, this is not what Lewis Hamilton wants. He wants a clear run at Nelson Piquet.
Oh, and look at the gravel on the track.
Gravel on the track there.
Oh, that's Zuber being cranked away. We got someone else off with heavy front end damage.
He's going to drag some junk back on the track.
Most of his front wings
missing. It looks all very deranged, the whole thing. Pantano, the Italian driver in front of the Italian crowd, pulling away from Nelson Piquet Jr.
Look at this gapping at the front as Pantano pulls away slightly from Piquet Jr. and then there's another look at the off.
Oh, all three of them.
It's in the Parabolica. Here's where you'll see it happen. Oh, this is, same incident. A little late getting to it. Just left the braking too late into Parabolica. Here we go. Oh, there was contact, I think.
He got help.
Nose to tail.
Is that Negrão?
Zandy Negrão, Zuber, and Ernesto Viso.
Oh, Ernesto Viso.
He's normally one of the quick ones.
In 7th spot, qualified in 7th.
Giorgio Pantano sets the early fast lap.
Yeah, we're talking about that wing being deranged, and look at it, it's cutting straight into the tyre. He's going to be very lucky to make it back to the pits before that tyre explodes.
A lot of contact early on. Farouz Fauzi apparently will continue his run of non-scoring finishes in GP2. Now, Giorgio Pantano has set fast lap. That is worth bonus points.
There's the running order.
Yep.
So Hamilton does take that third, but he wants to control this race now. He doesn't want to get into a scrap with Carroll at any...
no, but he's losing ground here to Piquet Jr., which he also... seconds behind him now.
Now there is one mandatory pit stop in this feature race set for 32 laps here at Monza. On Sunday we'll have the sprint race. Oh, Adrian Vaez taking out one of the
styrofoam blocks
in the runoff.
Fortunate for him, they are styrofoam.
Well, Pantano got his head down now as he comes out of the Ascari curves down to the Parabolica. Nelson Piquet right under his wing, or getting a good toe off him. Hamilton now seems to have broken free of Adam Carroll.
See that fastest lap from Pantano. Yeah, he does make a little bit of ground up.
Pantano, as you said, fastest lap.
So Fauzi's mechanics in the pits having to take that cover off the dampers again. I just hate that design of the car. It's so slow if you need to change the nose when you start stripping the bodywork off the thing.
Pantano hangs on to that lead from Nelson Piquet Jr. into the first chicanes. Look how tight and narrow it is.
You can just hear that.
Hamilton. Hamilton cuts the chicane again.
Now Piquet has taken the fast lap honors, and that's what he needs to do. Pick up every point available. They got the 2 points for pole, now the point for fast lap. And based on running order, he would pick up 2 points, so a total net of 5 of the 8 points he needs to keep his championship quest alive over Hamilton. Now tomorrow we'll go 21 laps in Sunday's sprint finale, and fewer points will be awarded. Oh, Piquet Jr. stepping out there in the second Lesmo. There'll be 7 points available, since the grid will be set by the results of today's race.
Oh, look at the brake dust coming out.
Yeah.
Sweeping into Ascari. This is a part of the racetrack at Monza that was repaved not long ago. The drivers say it's taken some of the bumps out and has also made the track much more tire friendly.
But it's still fairly bumpy on this approach, because you can see a lot of plank marks on the ground where they're kissing the ground, but obviously it's not that smooth. Through the curve of Parabolica there, old Pantano bollocking along.
See if he takes back fast lap. No, not on that lap apparently. 4-liter Renault-based Mechachrome V8 engines powering all these cars, all built by Dallara. Formula One in dimension. Not quite as high tech, but not all that far off. They only give up about 200 horsepower to the Formula One cars, which lap here at Monza at about a minute 21, a minute 22. Pole was set for this race by Nelson Piquet Jr. at 1 minute 30.1 seconds.
Again, a lot of that brake dust.
Yeah, very squirrely under braking.
This track has become, at one time it never used to be a heavy braking track, but the introduction of these chicanes has changed that.
Yes, very heavy on brake, very heavy on engines, of course, because what, 70% of the time, 75% of the time almost, you're on full throttle, which these guys certainly will be. And then the other 20%, you're absolutely lamping all over those brakes, giving them absolute hell, because these cars are stopping from the highest speed they'll achieve anywhere this year. The Formula One cars doing well in excess of 200 mile an hour.
Let's have another look at the start.
Woo! Field fanning out here.
A few slow getaways.
Pantano made a great start.
So Michael Ammermuller, one of the cars, moving close to the pit wall, but then the track narrows up.
And Hamilton just right there. They were lucky they all got away with that so well.
Yeah. 3 wide. Every other car cutting the chicane. Nicolas Lapierre and Alex Negrão there. Zandy Negrão is now out of the race.
On board Hamilton.
This ought to be interesting. Watch the two
ahead
of them.
He made a better start than Piquet in front of him. Goes down the inside, but he can't there because Pantano's there. So now he drops back in.
On the brakes.
Oh, and he almost collects Pantano.
That was close.
Wow.
Another fastest lap, Piquet Jr. 1:32.112.
There will be a tire stop during the mandatory pit stop. 2 tires usually, both at the rear, though occasionally we see front tires changed and sometimes all 4.
These front 2 pulling away from Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton won't be liking that, and Piquet Jr. is making ground on Pantano. He's now less than a half a second behind him.
Piquet Jr. already has his Formula One future charted. He'll be a test driver for the Renault World Championship team next year.
Boy, they are twitchy on brakes.
Yeah, they are, yeah. Well, they run so little downforce as well, Dave, don't they? That as soon as you hit the brakes, usually you get such tremendous downforce assisting keeping the car stable. No downforce really to talk of here.
No.
That's what will happen. You get that weight transfer from the rear to the front, and you see the back of the car starts to step out just slightly.
It's been a huge season of contrast for our 2 contenders for the championship, Hamilton and Piquet Jr. At the beginning of the year, Hamilton just could not be caught, picking up wins left, right, and center. But then at round 6 at Britain, that was really the last hurrah for Hamilton. Since then, his championship-clinching ART Grand Prix team has not led a lap, either Hamilton or Alex Premat. Meanwhile, Nelson Piquet Jr., who couldn't get out of his own way basically early in the season, started picking up wins everywhere and closed up the points gap to Hamilton. One of the Durangos there, Lucas de Grassi, straight lining that.
Yeah. It's so easy to do that, again, because they just haven't got any assistance from the car.
And you have that
flying down the straight,
blast, into the braking zone where you just want a parachute. More pit stops coming, but none among the front runners just yet. When will they stop? The top 12 cars have yet to make their mandatory stop. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to historic Monza, the final weekend of the GP2 Championship. Checking a replay, an outside pass. Felix Portero going around Ferdinando Monfardini.
Well, I'm glad one of us can say it.
I'm going to miss him in the offseason, I'll tell you.
I'm not going to miss him one bit because he's always on my row.
Freddie, we call him. Problems on a pit stop. It's one of the BCN cars. Hiroki Hashimoto, who at the top of our show said he just cannot think of a good moment in the season, and his woes continue.
The brakes really retaining their heat. We've seen this the last few races. When I first started to see those brakes glowing red, certainly during the pit stop, I thought these things are never going to last. But
I think we got a problem here with Nelson Piquet Jr. He either looked very slow to the chicane, he made a mistake, or he's got something wrong with his car. Because look at the gap between him and Pantano now, and he was right up his chopper.
And look at those brakes glowing in the chicane.
Yeah, you can see it right there, can't you? Now as the sunlight's dropping down.
This isn't going to work. This is not going to work.
Well,
it sort of did work almost. Well, it did work.
It did. Almost in a kind of a way.
Nobody got hurt.
Okay, here's Piquet.
There's Piquet Jr.
There's his mistake.
Yeah.
That was the gap.
But what made him have that mistake? If he got too little downforce, the car's sliding around too much, he's put too much heat in the tyres, they're starting to go off because they have got to make that compulsory stop.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Hamilton has pulled away from Adam Carroll, but on the other hand, he's now 3 seconds behind. He's caught up a bit. He was 4.5 seconds.
And we should mention all the cars were on the same Bridgestone tires, selected for the teams by the Bridgestone engineers.
Which, of course, we're going to see next year in Formula 1.
Well, they'll have a choice in Formula 1 would think.
I don't know. I think Bridgestone will bring in what they want them to bring.
Okay. Just taking all the fun out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, all that brake dust. Boy, those brakes still glowing. Even when he got halfway around the corner, they were still glowing. Well, Hamilton's got his old rag up now because he can see Piquet coming closer to him.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton, supported for many years by McLaren International, wears a Mercedes logo on his helmet now. But will he be in a Formula 1 car next year? He has gone public with his desire to do so, telling Ron Dennis in an interview, "Put me in Formula 1, I'm ready now." Dennis, for his part, seems to be very, very conservative with this young star, wanting him to get thousands of testing miles, which, of course, he could do in the off-season. Felix Portero rolls to a stop.
Has he got any wheels on it?
It's got wheels on it, but there's an ominous cloud of dust or smoke or steam coming out of that side pod. Look.
And I think a rather large barrier right in front of the nose. Huh? It tends to slow you down.
That'll affect the cooling.
There's your top 4 now. Line astern. Well, we're used to seeing a little more hand-to-hand fighting in GP2. This one is stretching
these
out.
cars are so evenly matched, and so are the drivers, and they're all young, you know, bloods trying to get into Formula 1.
Yep. I wonder what Hamilton's strategy was coming into this weekend. I mean, obviously, he wants to clinch the title as soon as he possibly can. And they had a great duke out in qualifying. Hamilton and Piquet went out there. They were running on the same lap, basically just 100 yards or so apart, and Hamilton would come around and set the quick time, and then right behind him Piquet Jr. would, and then Hamilton, and then Piquet Jr. Pantano got the second quickest time in at the end. Alex Premat makes his first stop from 6th for ART Grand Prix.
Adam Carroll pitted at the same time, so
Jose Maria Lopez pitted as well from 11th. Now Lewis Hamilton starting to get the bit between his teeth. He sets the quickest first sector of the race. We'll see if he can snatch away the bonus point for fastest lap.
And he's quick as well, 29 dead. Those are the first sector times, 29.4, 29.2, 29.4, 29.5. So he's just knocked half a second off in the first sector.
Can he do it in the second sector? Here he comes into this.
Well, Piquet Jr. just set fastest second sector with a 31.1. Hamilton a 31.6.
Wow, that's a huge difference, isn't it?
Yeah. I wonder if they're sliding around more than they expected to. Today, the weather called for cloudy skies, which would cool the racetrack and add grip. As you can see, we've got bright, direct sunshine, and that's going to loosen it up.
Yeah, the weather forecast has been, to say the least, a little bit awry. It did rain in the night, but look at that sky now. It's supposed to be raining today. And he's gradually whittling it down. No, he's gone back up a bit.
That was a 32.3 to Piquet Jr.'s 32.1. So Lewis Hamilton dropping back slightly. So the gap is now nearly 2 seconds from Pantano to Piquet as Timo Glock pits from 7th. Hamilton 5 seconds behind the leader, 3 seconds behind his rival Piquet.
Just rear tires being changed. That was pretty fast.
It was very fast.
Did they change the tires? Must have done. What else would you come in for?
Frank Pereira up ahead of him.
Pantano still hangs on to nearly 2 second lead over Nelson Piquet Jr.
There's Piquet Jr. and there's Hamilton.
Boy, that car of Pantano's does twitch around like heck and braking for this Variante Ascari.
Pantano, one of 4 Italians in this race on home soil in front of their fans. The end of the back straightaway.
Boy, that sun, you know, is going to be awkward for these guys now as they come out that parabolic. I mean, it's right in your visog.
And what do you do about that, Dave? What can you do about that?
Close your eyes. Not much. If you put too dark a visor on, it gets very dark going away from the sun and going under those trees.
Yeah.
Well, there's Nelson Piquet Jr. holding the gap steady to the race leader Pantano, but opening the gap to his title rival Lewis Hamilton, who runs one spot behind him. We'll be back to Monza. Welcome back to Monza. Oh, we've got a spin coming out of the Ascari corners, I believe. Adam Carroll's lost a wheel. He is done.
Oh, and he says, yeah, the wheel has come off the upright and it's rolling straight along across the racetrack.
Now, he had just pitted shortly before.
There you can see the stub axle, and the stub axle's in place, so the wheel nut has just backed off. And, well, that'll do it.
That's the argument.
That's the risk of pitting. We'll say that these guys are nowhere near as professional as the F1 teams, and we always expect the teams to work very well, but they're young guys. And here comes the rim, the rim and the tyre combo.
Well, it got him round to the Ascari Varianti. Whoa.
There it goes.
Boy, there it goes. Right.
You don't want to be yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. Is this going to bring out the old safety car? They've got a crane there to lift the car out of the way.
Good question.
They can't push it out of the way.
No crane.
Oh,
yeah,
David Hobbs.
Car. That'll close them up.
Hobbs strikes again.
I say it does.
Oh, and so the chief protagonists will all pit together. And the top three are in. Pantano, Piquet Jr., and Hamilton.
This is not the shot we want to see, the safety car. We want to see what's going off in pit lane.
Show us the pits, Mr. Director.
Here we go.
Here we go. Hamilton.
And away.
You always wonder when you see a crewman come rushing up at the end of a guy's stop.
Oh, yeah.
Right behind Piquet.
I never used to like that pushing the rear wing business, because you only have to get your glove caught over the flap, the gurney flap, and you're off down the pit lane with it. Keep your hand open and just push with your palm if you need to do it.
Oh, as long as you've got your gloves on, you're all right, because you can always kiss your glove goodbye, as long as you don't get your fingers in there.
Hammermuller's in the pits. DeGrassi, Filippi, one after another. Great time to make that mandatory stop, but you're not going to have much tires left.
Yes, there it goes again.
Boy, that thing was launched.
Yeah. Lucky it didn't go over that safety fence.
Yeah.
It was pretty high.
The poor safety car has nobody to follow him.
No, he's waiting for the leaders to catch up, I assume.
Luca Filippi will come along. Well, as thing stands, it looks like Piquet Jr. got a great stop.
Boy, it does.
Into that shade, heading into the Lesmos. Javier Villa pits. The flatbed finally arrives on the scene to hoist Adam Carroll out of his final GP2 feature race for 2006.
Boy, Adam Carroll's year soon came unglued, didn't it?
Always quick, but always the victim of some usually spectacular incident. Tonight here on Speed, it's the all-new Speed Report. Go beyond the highlights, beyond the stats, get the why with a Speed Report tonight at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only here on Speed. There you see the running order. Pantano, Piquet Jr., Jason Tahichi, who has not stopped. He is between Piquet Jr. and Hamilton.
That's not what he wants to see. I can tell you that right now.
Hammermuller picked up some spots on that pit stop. There goes Adam Carroll's machine. And we expect to go back to green shortly. 20 laps remaining around this 3.6-mile circuit that has seen so much drama, so much joy, and so much tragedy through the years.
Well, that particular spot right there claimed the lives of a number of people in 1961 when Jimmy Clark touched Von Trips in the Ferrari, killing Von Trips and some spectators.
It's also where Jochen Rindt
was killed
at his fatal crash
in qualifying.
The only posthumously crowned Formula One world champion. But there have been great moments here too. It was here that Phil Hill clinched the first Formula One World Championship by an American driver in 1961. Mario Andretti the same in 1978. We'll have more on Phil Hill's 45th anniversary of his World Championship in our coverage of the Italian Grand Prix, the 57th running of Formula One. More than any other racetrack Monza has played host to the World Championship. We'll be back to GP2 in a moment. Welcome back to Monza, behind the safety car after an incident involving Adam Carroll, a fairly scary one, in which the wheel departed his car less than a lap after the Irishman's pit stop. There you see the corner workers heading for his car, and that errant wheel on its merry way across the racetrack. Fortunately, nobody collected it, but it did bring out the safety car. The lights are now out. All of the front runners have made their mandatory stop, with the exception of third place Jason Tahinci, who has vaulted up the running order, but he still has to make his stop, at which point he will plummet. The order is Pantano, Piquet, then Tahinci. Disregarding him, Lewis Hamilton.
But there is another back marker between Hamilton. There's two cars. There's Piquet, there's Pantano, Piquet.
Here we go, boys.
And Tahinci, and another back marker, and then Hamilton. Oh my God.
Ooh. Hamilton immediately on the attack, as is Piquet on Pantano.
Again, these guys have got to be careful down here. Oh no, that won't do it.
And he should not.
You're going to have to give that up, son.
Give it back. There you go. Well done.
Unlike a certain Michael Schumacher a couple of 3 weeks ago.
Frank Pereira going by Timo Glock, almost making wheel-to-wheel contact. So we're back under green, 18 laps to go in this Saturday feature event. Sunday, the sprint race may decide the GP2 championship if it doesn't happen in this event.
It doesn't take long for these brakes and tires to cool down. They don't need to be running behind the safety car for more than a couple of laps before you really have to be careful. And as we said before, that first chicane coming down the start-finish straight is so tight. That is what will happen to you every time.
Oh boy, now that is an all-four lock-up.
Yeah.
That was a big lock-up for him.
And he's already made his tire stop. Oh, there's contact. Oh, well recovered. Holy mackerel, that was great. That's Timo Glock you're riding with. A man with Formula One experience. Picked up race wins this year in GP2.
And just to give a little clarification, what we're seeing there with Piquet Jr., you cannot cut the chicane to make an advantage. If you do that to make an advantage and pick a position, you must give that position back or you'll be called in for a penalty.
Now, I saw Pantano behind the safety car really leaning on those brakes, getting just a small degree of lockup as he tried to heat up those brakes for the restart. And you saw the effect of it there. Piquet Jr. hadn't done that. When he jumped on his, he had lockup everywhere. Hamilton going around for Roos Fauzi.
Boy, he got stuck behind. He got stuck behind Fauzi there for quite a long time. It's not what he wanted.
Oh,
Jimmy Bruni.
Gianmaria Bruni.
Oh. And Monfordini, two Italians off.
I think the suspension's broke on the left front.
I think it is. Oh,
I think the
boy.
wheels look a little bit deranged on the left front. I may be wrong. That's what it looked like from that shot.
I wish we'd stay with that. I think we were about to have a whole lot of hand waving.
Anyway, yeah.
And maybe a few fists.
I don't mind the guys waving their hands when they're out of the car. That's the time to do it if you want to burn off the frustration, not when you're driving it.
What do we have? There's Monfordini across the bow. Oh, that's Hamilton passing.
Oh, that's
goodness.
Oh, he had about as much chance of making that as I did catching the next plane. That was ridiculous. Look at it.
Oh.
Jimmy Bruni. There will be some hand waving.
Yeah.
I tell you, it'll be a bunch of fives into the old nose piece.
That's right. 5 of those at 80 miles an hour.
Into the old Vizog.
Into the old Vizog.
And there is the Hamilton pass.
Around Fauzi.
It looks like Fauzi actually may have been trying to give an assist there, but in a chicane. Anyway.
Okay, here we go.
When we last left our heroes,
back to racing.
Now Hamilton will have clear track, but he's 3 seconds behind Piquet Jr. again.
Michael Ammermuller looking pretty good at the moment in 5th spot, but Michael Ammermuller has yet to stop. No, he has stopped.
Piquet Jr. just setting fastest lap of 31.489.
Yep. Bonus point at stake there. Piquet Jr. holds it for now.
They're very good at this curb hopping, but you've got to get it right, because if you get it wrong, things go wrong in a hurry.
Boy, you got to wonder about those tires after that big lockup for Piquet. He may be rattling out a year's worth of fillings.
Yeah.
One of the Durango cars, Luca Di Grassi.
doing something else to the car, not just changing nose or something. One of the guys seemed to be very concerned looking at the left front flap and around the suspension on the car.
He may have had some contact.
Well, the gap now from PK back to Hamilton, his pursuer, is 3.4 seconds. Hamilton's last lap was a 31.9, PK's last lap a 31.4, so it looks like Hamilton's car is just a little bit better set up. He was about 0.3 quicker in practice in qualifying, and he's sort of maintaining that pace in the race. So this championship looks like it's going to go down to the sprint race.
Yeah, through the first sector, they were both absolutely even. 29-1, 29-1, both PK Jr. and Hamilton.
As they run now, Hamilton has a 5-point lead in the championship. He needs a net 7-point lead to clinch today.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looks... Ooh, look at this lot. This...
Alex Premat in there.
Extraordinary.
Jose Maria Lopez.
There could be a lot more hand-waving going on.
Timo Glock. This is the Grand Curve. Curva Grande. Here comes the first or second chicane.
Oh, Amamura and Glock, two Germans together as they go through the Della Rosia. Premat's just got round Amamura for fourth, but Amamura's still going to go. Oh no, going to go around the Lesmo.
Woohoo! Morgan Glock.
Whoa! Oh. And that's a very odd spot to.
Oh man!
Look how close they are.
Here comes the Ascari.
This has got to end in tears.
Oh, there goes Philippi.
There goes Luca Filippi going by Glock.
Glock saying, hang on.
Whoa.
Lopez is going
Glock is all over the place. That blue car is just all over the road.
Jeepers.
Frank Pereira side by side. Lopez up ahead.
Well, that was always going to happen.
Yep, you can see that coming.
That's what they call driving over your head.
Meanwhile, Giorgio Pantano has snatched away the fast lap bonus for now. Oh, boy.
He just couldn't quite decide where to do that, could he? Oh, the wing off the car.
Yeah.
No wonder Amamula's front brakes locked up. He didn't have much downforce.
Not at the front.
And now he's about to drop that off.
There's the demise of Timo Glock.
Oh, poor old Glock didn't have... Well, not much he could have done there.
Boy, oh boy. Lopez also involved. Valles involved.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh, day at the beach.
Bonk.
Oh,
yeah. Boy, that was rougher than it looked.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, well, boys.
Well, that was an eventful day for Timo Glock. Here's it.
Yeah, that was in real time. Same incident. All sorts of tire smoke down there. That's Glock. Is he cradling his arm?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
When that car behind him ran into the front wheel from the back, it gave that front wheel a heck of a belt, which obviously will have wrenched the steering wheel with his hand.
Yeah, easy to hurt you.
You could easily break your thumb doing that.
Right.
It's easier done than said, I guess, but I know the standard procedure is take your hand off the steering wheel, I think, at that point, isn't it? Get them clear. Hamilton fastest through Sector 1 so far with a 28.8. His personal best through Sector 2 also with a 31.2, so Hamilton pushing along.
Suddenly Nelson Piquet Jr., his last lap, just a 1:33.
He must have had a moment.
He must have.
Because obviously, for Hamilton's point of view, I mean, Nelson Piquet is awfully close, or was awfully close to Giorgio Pantano, who we're looking at now. You see the gap has opened up again, but if Piquet should get around Giorgio Pantano, things start to look very gloomy for Lewis Hamilton.
Left rear puncture.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Jose Maria Lopez will
That car was well and truly new. That was when Glock ran into him.
That'll be his second stop.
That'll be a lock.
Who's this locker? That was Amamula.
Amamula, yeah.
Amamula with the wing. Donner und Blitzen. Was ist los?
No push down at the front. Amamula getting the new nose
having a
on.
new front wing, new tires, new car.
There's that bodywork panel off the cup. We missed a shot there.
Yeah, Pantano.
Let's take a look at what happened to Glock approaching this very corner not long ago. Watch the steering wheel.
Boom.
Yeah, ouch. That did it right there. Yeah, ow, 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 ow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just as he was on left lock, gets clouded in the side.
That would have been a very severe wrench.
Hamilton in third.
Lewis Hamilton now 2.5 seconds behind Nelson Piquet Jr.
Where is everybody else? Oh, there they are. All right.
Oh, this is what
that's Amber
Oh,
Mueller.
great. That's just all he wanted.
Just where you didn't want to catch it.
Absolutely. That'll cost him a few tenths right there.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is, 2.5 seconds. Actually, looks more than that. Coming down the front straight, you couldn't see Piquet Jr. at all.
Let's ride along for a while. Oh, that is the kiss of death every single time.
Yeah.
You can see that glare. Obviously, these are not our cameras. Italian television shooting the race.
There's that gap coming. I think, is it coming down? Look, Pantano seems to have got quite a bit of a lead now over Piquet Jr. And here comes Hamilton.
Wonder if those flat spots are catching up with Piquet Jr. Pantano, of course, racing in front of his home fans. Will do anything he can to win this race.
The last lap of Piquet was a 1 minute 31.696. Hamilton's a 31.618, so slightly quicker. Pantano 31.564.
We'll keep comparing laps, see if Hamilton can close up on his title rival, and see whether Giorgio Pantano bring home the gold in his home race. We'll take a break and return to Monza. Welcome back to Monza. Coming out of the Variante della Roggia. Just beyond the wall on the right side of your screen is where a couple of young Italian brothers named Mario and Aldo Andretti used to stand and listen to the sounds of their heroes like Fangio and Ascari thundering by at Monza. Fernando Monferdini. Maybe the last time I get to say that today as he walks in. We saw Jose Maria Lopez a moment ago climbing out in his Renault uniform. He is a part of the Renault Young Driver Development Program. Not had a lot of luck this year. Time is rapidly running out. One more race, the sprint final at Monza after this feature event with 11 laps to run.
Piquet Jr. has pulled out a little bit more on Hamilton, so it looks like the results of this year's championship are going to go down to that sprint race, and unless Hamilton can find some more speed in his car, he could well lose this championship in the last round. At one stage, he had like a 35-point lead. He looked absolutely invincible.
As I was talking about earlier, I mean, Hamilton came out of the chute this year as though he were going to win every race. I mean, he just was sweeping people aside with the most amazing passing moves. And then suddenly, after the Silverstone round, the last four races.
Which was a terrific coup for him because he did the fastest lap. He led both races, won both races.
Yep.
And since then, he hasn't led a single lap.
That's Pantano, look, fastest lap. Lap 22, 31.197.
Big experience gap here. Pantano with Formula One as well as American open wheel experience on his resume, has raced a lot at Monza. He knows the secrets of speed around here, and boy, he's using every bit of the racetrack. FMS International, sponsored by a massive Turkish oil company, which explains the presence of his teammate, young Turk Jason Tahinci. And the team owned by Formula One Renault star Giancarlo Fisichella.
Another fastest lap for Pantano, so that's a point less between Hamilton and Piquet.
Pantano's car not looking anywhere near as stable as Piquet Jr.'s car under braking. You see Pantano's front end of the car really starting to move around now. Yeah, Piquet Jr.'s car a lot more stable.
Looking for any sign that Hamilton does not have the race car he wants. But he looks pretty good.
He's just on the fastest lap.
No!
Fastest lap of the race to Lewis Hamilton. So that cuts that lead down, or adds to one more point to his lead.
Is that the plan? Wait for the last 10 laps and then charge?
31.0 for Hamilton, 31.5 for Piquet Jr. So half a second off that last lap.
So that is a point in Hamilton's favor, and the gap is now 7 points.
And there's 7 points at stake in the sprint race.
Hamilton has more wins if we need to go to the tiebreak to decide the championship. 5 wins to 4 for his rival Piquet Jr. And neither man appears set to pick up a win here. The ART Grand Prix team already has the team title in their pocket. Headed as they are by Nicolas Todt, son of Jean Todt, who runs the Ferrari Formula One operation.
Are they a big team?
You may have heard of them.
Something must be going to happen here, because this is a replay.
Nope. No, just more wheel to wheel and nose to tail.
And nose to ear.
Another of the Dave Price cars is done. That's Petrov, the Russian, who had problems at the start of this race. Heavy on the brakes at Monza. Down into turn 1 goes Giorgio Pantano, leading in front of his home fans with 8 laps to go. And the opening feature race of the final GP2 season of 2006 here at Monza. Couldn't find a better place to decide the championship, and that's what the 2 men behind Pantano, Nelson Piquet Jr., currently running second, started from pole, and Lewis Hamilton running third. They will decide the championship between them. We ride with Piquet Jr. A lot more steering input than we saw from Hamilton's car. Look at that low sun glare you talked about earlier, David.
Very, very glaring. You go into the dark of that tunnel, and you've got the shade of the trees, the dappled shade. It does a sort of Doppler effect as you go through there.
Hoping to become the first Formula One driver whose family hails from the Caribbean, the island of Trinidad.
Boy, this race, like the Formula One race, is coming up later on today, really rattling by at a terrific speed.
Watching timing and scoring, Hamilton currently with the fast lap bonus point that could clinch him a championship. No change.
The gap staying pretty even between all these front 3 guys. Actually 3.3 seconds from Piquet to Pantano. Pantano is eking out just a slight lead. I think Piquet is the one that's just gone slightly off the boil. Whether his tyres are going away, because after he put his new tyres on, he had that 4-wheel huge lockup going to the chicane, so he might be having a lot of vibration problems.
But he certainly knows that at this point, with the fast lap bonus point, he is in position to clinch the championship. Even if his rival Piquet Jr. wins the sprint finale, they will be even on race wins, assuming Pantano wins this one. But Hamilton has more second place finishes, and that will decide the championship.
Let's see how stable the car is under braking now. Look at the steering input. Well, lost a little bit behind the graphic.
But it
looks a lot more stable than Pantano's car, that's for sure, yeah.
Pantano's car doesn't look very stable at any stage.
Anywhere, you're right.
It looks pretty twitchy going to the Parabolica.
Well, let's try and have a look at the rear wing configuration. Maybe the Pantano is just running a little bit less wing on the car, which is making it a tad more unstable.
6 laps to go.
Hamilton still has that fast lap point. Look at that big gap now back to Piquet from Pantano, and Hamilton is winding Piquet in.
Yes, he is.
Will he be able to wind him in and get by him in just 6 laps? It's going to be very difficult.
Sun growing ever lower at Monza, just south of Lake Como in the Italian Alps. It could be the scene of a championship for Lewis Hamilton just 6 laps from now. Welcome back to Monza. Slow motion look at Lewis Hamilton running in third for the ART Grand Prix team, bounding over the curbs, holding on to that 3rd spot, hoping to clinch the title today and avoid having to take it to the final sprint race of the year here at Monza. We'll have highlights of that race for you. There's Giorgio Pantano leading away from Nelson Piquet Jr.
There doesn't seem to be much wing difference between these cars, but it's difficult to tell. There's about 3 different rear wings I think these cars are issued with from Dallara. They'll all be running the low downforce wing. But they'll be able to adjust it a little bit on the end plates, the angle of attack slightly up and down, but there's not much you can visually see from that shot.
I'll tell you what, Pantano is pulling away. Piquet's obviously got some sort of a problem. As I say, it could well be the fact that he locked up all four big time going into that first chicane after he put his new tyres on. He is definitely slowing down a little bit, and Hamilton is making ground up on him, but it's going to be very difficult for him to catch up and go by in just the remaining 5 laps.
Yeah.
But Hamilton, of course, now is getting into that draft zone. He's going to be close enough to Piquet Jr. where he is going to pick up a big draft, which is an important part of racing here at Monza. These chicanes break it up more than they used to, but still and all, a draft here can really do wonders for you.
Yeah, and these cars are not as susceptible to the front wing washing away like their F1 counterparts, so they can run closer together for longer without worrying about the front of the car washing away.
Which helps the downforce a lot without affecting the drag too much, and also you can run in poor air.
We've seen incredible attrition in this race. 11 of the 26 starters are now out.
What are we seeing here?
Oops, running over debris.
Yeah.
Not of his own making, I would guess. So what do you do if you are Nelson Piquet Jr.'s team leader? You tell him to just nail it, do everything you can, try to catch Pantano, because right now that's your only hope.
He's not. He's either got to set fast lap, but the one thing he has got to do is keep Hamilton behind him. That is absolutely crucial.
Well, he's got to, I mean, fast lap is really his only choice at this point. Fast lap or catch Pantano, which it doesn't look like he's going to do in 4 laps. Because as things stand, Hamilton will close it out here, and in fact he's closing up, perhaps trying to put an exclamation point on this championship by beating Piquet Jr. to the flag.
And out of the 3 cars going down to the first chicane there, it was Hamilton's car was significantly more safe. Look at Pantano's car moving around.
It's Pantano we're watching.
A cool shot.
Well, yes, it is.
That's Pantano. Hamilton sets the fastest first sector again at a 28.8. Is he going to be able to maintain that for the whole lap? Boy, he's getting into, like I say, he's getting into that draft zone.
I wonder if Hamilton has just been playing it coy all race. I said with 10 laps to go that he suddenly seemed to come alive as you watch Luca Filippi having one of his best runs of the season.
I don't think
traffic ahead of the leader.
He wouldn't leave it to 4 laps to go, not here at Monza. Well, not anywhere.
Well, it was about 6 laps ago that he set his first fast lap. And he may reset it right here. Checking. Nope, but still quicker by a 10th than Piquet Jr. But once again this year, GP2 will graduate at least 2 drivers to Formula 1.
What are we going to see here?
Farouz Fauzi just off and on and off and on.
He sort of did well to hold that.
Ooh, I thought he was going to challenge around the outside there.
I wonder if Hamilton's game here is not so much to take the fight to Piquet and try and get past him, but merely to match his lap times to prevent Piquet Jr. setting that fastest lap.
Boy, that sun must be troubling these guys big time, I think.
Piquet Jr. is running out of opportunities here. Under the back stretch of the old oval track. The Ascari chicane, where the great Alberto Ascari was killed in a testing accident many years ago. Look at Piquet Jr.
How do his tyres look?
Well, not bad. A little bit of glow from the front disc, but I won't worry about that.
No.
They're just enjoying the slow-mo count.
They're great.
Well over 500 horsepower in these cars. Really good race cars. Paddle shifting like their Formula 1 big brothers. About 200 horsepower down. But they've given us great racing all year long. Oh, Piquet Jr. trying desperately to snatch back that fast lap bonus point.
Who was that?
Was that Pantano? Was it one Pantano?
The leader?
Was it?
Oh, my goodness.
If that was Pantano.
We've got a whole new ball game.
Oh, boy, we have.
Couldn't tell from that high shot.
Come on, Mr. Director.
PK Jr. fastest in the first sector, 28.7.
Oh, wow. If he sets the
there's
fastest
Pantano.
lap with just 1 lap to go, that'll be... Well, there's Pantano, so it wasn't him.
Boy, what a gap. Great
Yeah, it was
drive
like
for
a huge-
Pantano. This is the last gasp for PK. Oh, boy, Pantano just still all over the road.
Quickest in the first sector so far.
Well, Pantano just reset the best second sector.
So Pantano sets the fastest lap right now. That also is bad for Hamilton because
That's
it
true.
takes that point away from him.
Takes it away from Hamilton, right?
And with only 2 laps to go, he ain't got much time to make up the fastest lap.
Well, let's see. To the line.
No, not fastest lap.
Ooh, but boy, he didn't miss it by much. Couple of tenths. PK does not get it either. Hamilton has it. PK has one more chance to try to wrest away the fast lap point and try to send the championship to the sprint finale. Car will be nice and light, but the tires may be gone.
It's not the gap between these guys now, it's the fastest laps, the sector times, isn't it? That's what's going to make the difference.
Well, the reason, of course, PK had that fastest lap first sector the last time, of course, was because he went through the chicane.
It's the clock that will ultimately decide the GP2 championship. Not a great first sector for PK Jr. A 29.3 to Pantano's 29 dead.
And a 29 dead for Hamilton. But Hamilton's last lap was 4 tenths slower than PK, so that gap has stayed right at 1.7, 1.8, round about there. So it looks like Pantano's headed for another win for him, and of course, obviously for him, a great place to do the win in front of the home crowd, and of course, Fisichella, his team owner, who we just saw there.
Yeah, it was on the pit wall. There he is.
Pantano's second victory of the season following the sprint race at Manicourt, France in round 7. What better place to come off the corner in a race lead than your home race at Monza. Victory for Giorgio Pantano and FMS. PK Jr. was quickest in the second sector, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Oh, Pantano got the fast lap. We go to Sunday.
Oh my God.
Is that possible?
And Pantano didn't need to do that.
No, he did not.
He did not.
Oh, sorry, Lewis.
Oh, Lewis Hamilton will be absolutely just tipped right off with
We'll
that.
have to keep the
Thanks a
champagne
lot,
in the
mate.
bottle for another day. Holy mackerel. Who'd have thunk it that on the last lap, when he could have been waving to his home fans, Giorgio Pantano snatches the championship out of Lewis Hamilton's grasp and sends it to the final race. Wow. Oh, man. Nelson Piquet Jr. ought to be waving over at Giorgio Pantano and saying, thank you very much. The gap is 6. And Hamilton needed 7. There will be 7 points available tomorrow. Now remember, the top 8 finishers today: Pantano, Piquet, Hamilton, Filippi, Primat, Lapierre, Piccioni, and Yoshimoto will start in reverse order tomorrow. The Japanese driver on pole with the championship at stake. Back at Monza, in time for the podium ceremonies for race winner and native son Giorgio Pantano. Congratulations to Giorgio Pantano. Lewis Hamilton to the right, Nelson Piquet Jr. to the left. It appears they will have a shootout for the title in the final race of the season.
Well, it was a good run from the front three grid sitters. Pantano made a terrific start. Nelson Piquet Jr. did not make such a great start. Hamilton nearly got in there, but then it sort of settled down and they just swanned away from the rest of the field. But a pretty good run by all of them. And obviously Giorgio Pantano being delirious at winning in front of his home crowd.
I still can't get over him setting the fast lap and grabbing away that bonus point from Hamilton on the very last lap of the race. You can't script these things.
You can't. Hamilton is looking suitably
bemused.
Yeah, exactly. Bemused. Yeah. Oh my God, I got to go through this race tomorrow now.
All the pressure.
Nice classic trophies for the GP2 race.
Yeah, lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
Look well on the mantelpiece, that will.
Oh, yes, they will.
Lewis Hamilton's got a lot of those now in a very short career.
Yeah. And soon to make room for some Formula One hardware, no doubt.
Of course, Giorgio Pantano's had his time in Formula One, done some Formula One, done some champ car racing over here in the States. So he is struggling to get back into Formula One, but I don't know, it's going to be difficult for him.
Notice that unusual podium set there on its own platform near start-finish. Suitably dramatic for a place like Monza. We'll take a break and return with some results and a look at the final race of the 2006 GP2 Championship, in which our season-long champion will be determined. Stay with us. Welcome back to Monza, between races on the final weekend of the GP2 season, and we have had another dramatic twist in the championship as we take a look at the results of today's race. As you see, Giorgio Pantano remains the winner, but after the race, officials realized that while he was setting the fast lap of the race and taking away the bonus point from Lewis Hamilton for that lap, a corner worker was inadvertently waving a yellow flag. Well, not inadvertently, but incorrectly waving a yellow flag. And since the flag was judged to take precedence, Pantano loses fast lap. Hamilton picks up the bonus point and with it clinches the 2006 GP2 championship over Nelson Piquet Jr.
Wow, what an end to the race, because it looked like on that last lap that Pantano had foiled Lewis Hamilton yet again, and he's going to have to go to the short race to win the championship, but it was all over in the steward's room. But nevertheless, a fantastic championship for Lewis Hamilton.
And with that, let's take a look at the highlights of the final race of the season, the sprint race from Monza. Hamilton looking nice and relaxed in the media attention, and Piquet Jr. being a good sport about everything, and then everything went crazy at the start.
Well, of course, they started well down. There's Pantano on the left, coming from 8th, and there along on the right-hand side of the picture is Lewis Hamilton. So Pantano and Hamilton settle into first and second. They go to the first chicane and make it stick, unlike some action going on further back in the field where Maria Lopez runs over the top of Javier Villa, both losing bits of wing and other bodywork.
Another look at the start. Remember, the top 8 were inverted, so Giorgio Pantano screen left and Lewis Hamilton screen right came from 7th and 8th to be first and second.
That's Adam Carroll, trapped by Portero, spinning. Piquet Jr. Yeah, you can see, look at the brakes glowing. But just as he did yesterday, coming down into turn 1, a massive lockup overshoots that first chicane. On board with Piquet Jr. Let's have another look at that. That's not the way to do it.
Meanwhile, Hamilton setting his sights on Pantano, trying to put an exclamation point on his championship season, gets it wrong in the Lesmos.
Boy, that's not a good place to go off, into that gravel trap. But as you can see, the yellow flag's being waved again. Here we see it on board. Makes it, just gets a little bit wide onto the gravel. Obviously, the last thing he wants to do is get beached. Meanwhile, Piquet here having another go down at the chicane, gets spun around again. So Piquet's there going downhill fast.
Hamilton back on track and full of fight still. Look at him again, trying. Pantano overshoots.
You'll have to give that up, mate.
That's right. Pantano goes back out front. And that was as close as Lewis Hamilton would get as Giorgio Pantano picks up the weekend sweep in his native Italy. What a race.
Boy, what a couple of results for Pantano right in front of his home crowd. But on the other hand, of course, the manly hour, Lewis Hamilton, the champion.
And with that, he launches himself into a future in Formula One, as will his rival Nelson Piquet Jr. Final results, Pantano, Hamilton, and Piccioni on the podium.
One of his best results of the year. Nicolas Lapierre also coming back after having a bad crash early in the year. Yoshimoto having another good run for him. Nelson Piquet down there in 6th, not what he wanted really. Luca Filippi, Ernesto Vizo And Jimmy Bruni also, of course, another Italian who's had a couple of wins this year, but things haven't gone right his way either.
I should point out and correct myself that Lewis Hamilton started 6th on the sprint race grid and not 7th, but still 6th to 2nd behind Pantano, who went from 8th to 1st. Pretty amazing stuff.
There's Alex Premat down in 19th, of course, who everybody thought would be the champion this year.
Now the Drivers' Championship. Steve?
Well, there it is. Lewis Hamilton out in front, like 114 points over Nelson Piquet Jr., 102. There's Premat. David, you were thinking, and a lot of people were thinking, would take this championship at the start of the season. No, he finishes 3rd on 66. Big drop-off there from 3rd. Did not make into the hundreds there at all.
Timo Klock didn't do half the season, but did very well to finish 4th. And Pantano, of course, only did a few races as well. You see Michael Amamila got off to a great start this year, had a win early on, but look at him down there in 11th in the final point standing. Piccioni, who came 3rd today, up to that position there. And the rest of the runners, look at that, all those guys from 24th to 30th, not 1 point between them.
Although they did run limited schedules in some case. And in the team championship for the 2nd straight year, the only team champions GP2 has ever seen, ART Grand Prix.
Yeah, look at talking about point drop-off from 1st to 3rd in the drivers. Look, it's 180 points for ART Grand Prix. Considering that they're all using identical machinery, it shows the quality and the professionalism of ART. Right down the bottom there, 13th Durango with 9 points.
And with that, the 2006 GP2 championship season comes to a close. We'd like to congratulate 2006 Drivers' Champion Lewis Hamilton and the championship winning team ART Grand Prix. We hope you've enjoyed GP2 here on Speed. For David Hobbs, Steve Matchett, and Peter Windsor, I'm Bob Varsha. We'll see you again next year in this Stepping Stone series for future Formula One stars. Right now, stay tuned. The Italian Formula One Grand Prix starts now.